47 seconds. That's how long it took for an innocent family's life to be turned upside down. An FBI raid, the wrong address, a terrified father handcuffed in front of his children, a mother screaming that they had the wrong house, and body camera footage that would shock the nation. This is the story of when federal law enforcement got it catastrophically wrong. Riverside, California, June 14th, 2024, 6:23 a.m. The Martinez family was just beginning their day. David Martinez, 42, a high school math teacher, was making coffee in the kitchen. His wife, Elena, 39, a nurse, was getting their 2 children ready for school. 7-year-old Sophia was eating breakfast at the kitchen table, still in her pajamas, talking about her upcoming school field trip to the zoo. 10-year-old Miguel was upstairs packing his backpack, making sure he had his science project ready for presentation. It was a Friday, the kind of ordinary Friday morning that happens in millions of American homes every single day. The kids were excited about summer break starting in 2 weeks. David was grading final exams at the kitchen counter. Elena had just finished a grueling night shift at Riverside Community Hospital and was exhausted, but she was pushing through to make sure the kids got off to school properly. The coffee was brewing, the television was on in the background, playing the local morning news. Sophia was humming a song she'd learned in music class. Miguel was complaining about having too much homework. It was normal, it was safe, it was home. They had no idea that in exactly 4 minutes, their quiet suburban home would be the target of an FBI tactical raid. 8 miles away, at the FBI's Riverside field office, a tactical team was preparing for what they believed would be a high-risk operation. Their target? Marcus Williams, a 38-year-old man wanted on federal charges of drug trafficking, weapons possession, and assault on a federal officer. According to their intelligence, Williams was heavily armed, had made explicit threats against law enforcement, and had a documented history of violent resistance during previous encounters with police. His criminal record stretched back 2 decades and included multiple weapons offenses, aggravated assault, and conspiracy to distribute methamphetamine. The warrant had been approved 3 days earlier by a federal judge. The tactical plan had been reviewed and signed off by 3 different supervisors. The team conducting the raid consisted of 12 highly trained FBI agents, most of them with over a decade of experience in high-risk tactical operations. Everything appeared to be by the book, professional, thorough, legitimate. The warrant was crystal clear, or so they thought. Address? 4127 Maple Grove Drive. The FBI team loaded into their vehicles 6 tactical agents in the primary breach vehicle, 4 agents in a secondary support vehicle, 2 agents in an unmarked car for perimeter security. They checked their weapons, reviewed the tactical plan one final time, studied photographs of Marcus Williams, reviewed the layout of the property based on satellite imagery and county records. The team leader, Special Agent Richard Torres, a 16-year veteran of the FBI with over 200 high-risk raids under his belt, gave the final briefing. He reminded his team about Williams's violent history. He emphasized the importance of speed and overwhelming force. He noted that Williams was believed to be armed with at least 3 firearms and possibly explosives. At 6:25 a.m., they began moving toward the target location. Radio discipline was tight. Each vehicle maintained proper spacing. The operation was being monitored in real time by the FBI's Tactical Operations Center back at headquarters. Everything was proceeding exactly as planned. There was just one catastrophic problem. The warrant said 4127 Maple Grove Drive, the actual location of Marcus Williams, the wanted fugitive they were looking for, was 4127 Maple Grove Court, a different street, 2 miles away, in a completely different neighborhood. Someone had made a clerical error, a simple typo, drive instead of court, 5 letters, 1 word, and nobody at any point in the chain of command had caught it. How does this happen? How does the FBI, one of the most sophisticated law enforcement agencies in the world, with decades of experience and multiple layers of oversight, raid the wrong house? The answer is both simple and terrifying: human error compounded by a systemic failure in verification protocols. The warrant application, filed 3 days earlier by a junior FBI agent who had been with the Bureau for only 18 months, contained the typo. He had copied the address from a confidential informant's report, but the informant had verbally told him Maple Grove Court, and when the agent typed up the formal paperwork, his fingers hit the wrong keys. Drive instead of court. It happens. We've all made typos. But this one would have catastrophic consequences. According to the internal investigation that would later be conducted, 4 separate people reviewed that warrant before it was approved by a federal judge. 4 experienced FBI personnel, supervisory agents, people whose job it was to catch exactly this kind of mistake, and not one of them caught the error. Why? Because they were focused on the evidence, on the probable cause, on the legal justification for the raid, on whether there was sufficient basis to believe Marcus Williams was at the location, on whether the warrant language was legally sound. They weren't focused on something as mundane as the address that was just assumed to be correct, that was treated as a clerical detail, not something that required verification. The supervising agent who reviewed the warrant spent 45 minutes analyzing the probable cause affidavit. He checked the case law citations. He verified that the language met Fourth Amendment standards. He confirmed that the evidence justified a no-knock warrant. He spent exactly 0 minutes verifying the address. The second reviewer, a senior supervisory agent, did the same thing, focused on the legal justification, assumed the address was correct. The third reviewer, the assistant special agent in charge, signed off after a 15-minute review, again focused on legal sufficiency, no address verification, and the federal judge who issued the warrant, he reviewed the probable cause. He confirmed that constitutional standards were met. He found that there was indeed sufficient evidence to believe Marcus Williams was engaged in criminal activity and that evidence would be found at the location. He signed the warrant at 3:47 p.m. on June 13th. Not one person thought to verify the address against public records. Not one person thought to cross-reference it with the confidential informant's original report. Not one person thought to do a simple Google Maps search to confirm the location existed and matched the description. The tactical plan was finalized at 11:00 p.m. that same night. Agent Torres and his team studied satellite imagery of the target location. They noted the 2-story structure, the attached garage, the fenced backyard, the proximity to neighboring homes. They identified entry points, primary breach through the front door, secondary team covering the back exit, perimeter security to prevent escape. They reviewed contingencies. What if Williams barricades himself? What if he has hostages? What if there are explosives? And at 6:15 a.m. on June 14th, the team was briefed one final time. Agent Torres went through the plan step by step. He showed photographs of Marcus Williams. He reminded the team about the suspect's violent history and weapons capability. He emphasized the importance of speed, surprise, and overwhelming force. Not one person thought to physically verify the address, to drive by in an unmarked car, to confirm it, matched the description, to check the mailbox, to verify that the property looked like a place where a violent fugitive would be hiding. They had done hundreds of raids. This was routine. Standard operating procedure. What could possibly go wrong? At 6:27 a.m., the convoy turned onto Maple Grove Drive. It was a quiet, tree-lined suburban street. Well-maintained homes, manicured lawns, minivans in driveways, children's bicycles on front porches, American flags hanging from several houses. This didn't look like the kind of neighborhood where a violent drug trafficker would be hiding. But Agent Torres had conducted raids in suburban neighborhoods before. Criminals live everywhere. Appearances can be deceiving. The tactical team commander keyed his radio. All units, 2 minutes out. Target is the blue two-story at 4127. Remember, suspect is armed and dangerous. Multiple weapons confirmed. Expect resistance. Dynamic entry authorized. Rules of engagement are in effect. Anybody unclear? On the plan? Silence on the radio. Everyone knew their role. Copy. 1 minute out. The vehicles slowed. They were trying to maintain the element of surprise while also being ready for immediate action. 30 seconds out. Agent Torres could see the house now. 4127 Maple Grove Drive, a blue two-story colonial, white trim, well-maintained, a Honda Accord in the driveway. Not the kind of vehicle typically associated with drug traffickers, but criminals often use ordinary-looking cars to avoid attention. 15 seconds. The vehicles stopped approximately 40 yards from the target. Agents began exiting, weapons at the ready, moving with practiced precision toward the house. Inside the house, David Martinez had just poured his second cup of coffee. He was reviewing a student's final exam, making notes in the margin about partial credit for a geometry proof that was close but not quite correct. He was thinking about the end-of-year faculty meeting scheduled for later that afternoon. He was wondering if he should wake Elena up or let her sleep a bit longer after her night shift. He heard something outside, car doors, multiple vehicles. The sound wasn't alarming, just unusual for this quiet street at 6:29 in the morning. He walked to the front window, pulled back the curtain, and saw 6 FBI agents in full tactical gear, black helmets, body armor, rifles, moving in formation toward his front door. Later, in his sworn deposition given 4 months after the incident, David would describe this moment in detail. I thought it was a mistake, like maybe they were at the neighbor's house and I was seeing them from the wrong angle. Or maybe there was some kind of emergency down the street and they were staging from my driveway. I even started to walk toward the front door to open it and ask if they needed help or if they were looking for a specific address. That's when everything went completely wrong. David's hand was reaching for the doorknob when the battering ram hit the door. The sound was deafening. The entire house shook. The door, a solid wood door with a deadbolt lock, splintered and flew inward, nearly torn completely off its hinges. 6 FBI agents poured through the opening within 2 seconds. FBI, search warrant, FBI, get on the ground now. Hands where I can see them, down. David Martinez, a 42-year-old high school math teacher who had never been arrested, never been in a fight, never even gotten a speeding ticket, froze in absolute